This is my life. Starts on February 27th, 1998. In Tucson, Arizona. I was born at 10:52 a.m. to my mom and my dad, and I had two older brothers as well. We would constantly go to Ohio because I had four grandparents living there at the time, and it was like a second home to me. That was until 1999 when my grandma Longo died. I was really young, so I didn't really know what happened until later on in life. My dad was obsessed with baseball, so we would constantly be going to baseball games, and I've probably been to over 40 baseball parks across the country. And I've been to about 43 of the 50 states, and I'm gonna mark some more when I go to college. That's my goal, is to get all 50 before I die. In kindergarten, I went to a private school. Well, it was like a pre-K through 8th grade, and it was called OMAS. This is where I met my lifelong friend, Brooklyn Shingler. Baby Shingadang. Gotta love her sometimes. With private school came a lot of bullying, surprisingly. And there was a lot of rough days growing up, but I would always just put on a happy face and come home and shut my door and cry. This is the hard part. I was always called the no eyebrow girl, but I had a good reason. It all started just as a nervous habit, which later turned into a mental disorder. It's called trichotillomania, and it's just when you have the constant urge to pluck hair. So it can be your head, it can be your eyebrows, it can be your eyelashes, anything. My two were just eyelashes and eyebrows. So that's the real story. I've told so many different stories over the years, but that's the true story. I would always somewhat grow them back and they would be okay and they would work. But then my weakness would come back and I would pluck it all again and I'd be back to no eyebrow girl. I started public high school, well, public school in general, at Saguaro. I met some of the greatest people that I'm still friends with 4 years later in the first couple of days of freshman year. I met my friend Brianna and my friend Sana and so many other people that have impacted my life. These girls made my life so much better. So it was scary because I only knew like 4 people from my grade school coming to Saguaro. So when I met them, they made it seem like they were been my best friends for years. Freshman year, I played 2 different sports. I played basketball and I played volleyball. And it was honestly so much fun. Loved I've always loved those 2 sports, so the fact that I got to play them in high school was just awesome. I've always had such a love for sports, and growing up in a sports family, you kind of had to. So when I got the opportunity to play, I took it. Then December of freshman year came. First, I got a concussion on Friday. We also found out my grandma was deathly ill. And sure enough, on Monday, my grandma passed away. And it was really, really sad. So we had to fly all the way back to Ohio, yet again, to go to her funeral. But it was nice because I have such a nice, close, loving family that we all stayed in my grandma's house and just had a big old sleepover and talked about memories of her. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing here, but I meant to say sophomore year. Sophomore year was interesting, to say the least. I didn't get to play any sports because, didn't really make the team, so it's cool though. I'm chilling. But I did get inducted into NHS later that year, which was always a goal for me, and I got to achieve that goal, which felt amazing. January of sophomore year. Another rough time. This time, my grandpa passed away. Me and him were so, so close. And it broke my heart when I heard the news. I couldn't believe it. He was my last grandparent alive. Most kids have their grandparents growing up, but since I was so much younger than the rest of my family, I didn't get to have that. So we flew back to Ohio and went to his funeral. And it was kind of cool though, because I got to meet a lot of my family that I'd never met before. February, the next month, I turned 16. No, I didn't get my license or a car, but it's cool. I got my very first job right after I turned 16 at the YMCA. And it's such a cool job, honestly. Everyone's always saying, oh, you have such an easy job, which it's true, but it's a really cool job too. I get to do the scoreboard and the scorebooks, and I even get to coach on the weekends. My two favorite sports, volleyball and basketball. May of 2014. That was a really rough time. It should have been happy because my oldest brother got married and my other brother graduated college from the University of Arizona. But in the midst of all of that, we had kind of a family dilemma. I got the call from at school that my dad had been taken to the ER and he was in really critical condition. And they weren't sure if he was gonna make it. But he really shouldn't have made it because he was in a really bad position. But luckily, he made it out. And we're all good now. And I'm really happy to have my best friend still. Junior year. Yes, it is as stressful as everybody and their mom says. You take your AP classes and your SATs and your ACTs, and it basically just eats you alive, to be honest. But I made it through, so it's alright. This was the year I got my first car. I actually got it just a little over a year ago on May 18th. And I have a 2000 Buick Regal, which sounds like a crappy car, but I actually adore it because I don't have to be driven around anywhere. Senior year. The year we've all been waiting for and look forward to from when we're 5 years old. It had finally come. I lost a lot of friendships this year, and some of the greatest friendships that I've made. But I also made quite a few new friendships and met some people that I hadn't met in the previous 3 years, so it all worked out. The days started to wind down. We started from 180, and before you know it, we had a week left, and we had 3 days left. It's just crazy how time really does fly. May 25th, 2016. The day we walk across that stage and grab our diploma. And we're done with this place. We've spent so many days over the last 4 years, and just like that, now we're done. Just a couple weeks, I'm headed to Colorado, and I'm going to be attending Colorado Mesa University, where I'm going to study athletic training so I can become just like Becky. Her class honestly made me have such a love for this major, and I'm super excited that I get to pursue it in college and have the opportunity to become just like Becky. This has been my last 18 years. It's kind of crazy to look back over it and see just how much I've grown and what has come into my life. So the journey is just starting, and it will continue for years to come and make many, many adventures.